In 1999, my wife Colleen and I bought our house that we live in currently. And that house was built in 1972. And realistically speaking, that house hadn't really been updated much. It was in good shape both inside and out, but it kind of reflected the 27-year difference between building and buying. Now, those of you that have heard me tell a story before, you know that I'm an introvert, notwithstanding that I'm telling stories in front of a room full of strangers, but I'm an introvert. But I'm also an engineer, which means I like to tinker. And the fact that this house had not really been refreshed, updated in any manner, shape, or form gave me the opportunity to tinker within my keep-to-myself nature. So I'm pretty good with a screwdriver and a hammer, and to that extent, I've replaced all the inside doors with 6-panel doors. They're varnished, they're nice. There's wood trim along the baseboard that matches. I've got to replace 2 of the bathrooms. I've got to replace the kitchen. I've got to replace half the basement. That's just the stuff that I've done. I also know my limitations, and there's stuff on the outside. If it's outside the house, we get the contractor in to do it. We've had the windows replaced, the siding, the roof, the driveway, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The house has pretty much been replaced except for the bricks and the plumbing and the house number. But it's kind of like the old joke about the axe. It's the same axe, but it's on its 4th head, it's on its 5th handle. It's still the same axe, right? So it's the same house, but it's been gutted and replaced. Now, we kind of stretched our budget to get into this house. We stretched our budget. It had everything we were looking for. It was 4 bedrooms, 1 for each of our 3 kids. They were 7'4", 2 at the time. Of course, 1 for us. It was at the end of a cul-de-sac, so there was no traffic going through the neighborhood. You either lived there or you were totally lost. And it was in good location relative to Fairfax County schools. But the house reeked. The previous owners were 2-pack-a-day smokers. Yeah. Yeah. And Colleen has a very sensitive sense of smell. Me, not so much, but she does. And so she had serious buyer's remorse that first night that we slept in that house. Now, recognizing that getting rid of cigarette smoke in a house is probably a long-term project, we kind of set that aside. The nearest term project that we really wanted to take care of was the appliances in the kitchen. They were that pukey green from the 70s. You know, if you eat split piece soup and throw it back up again, what that looks like, that's what the appliances look like. That was the color. And so we kind of delved into our budget, whatever was left of it, and we bought some white appliances. But Colleen also wanted a 3-card Monty done with that kitchen. She wanted the appliances in different places. The problem with that turned out to be the stove. The stove was a double oven, and it went floor to ceiling. And when I talk about the ceiling, I'm talking about the upper cabinets. Now, when we're talking about the floor, I kind of learned through years of archaeological digging that there were multiple layers of flooring down there. And I really couldn't get the stove out. The extra flooring didn't go underneath the stove. That was just original flooring under there. But I couldn't get the stove out because I couldn't rotate the feet, and I couldn't pull it out because the feet were blocked by that extra layers of flooring, and I couldn't push it up because it was up in the upper cabinet. And that's how the kitchen overhaul process started. And when you start mucking with the floor, well, that floor went down the hallway, the bathroom was the same floor, the foyer was the same floor, went around to the dining room, back into the kitchen. There was probably 800 square feet of flooring that needed to be replaced if I started peeling away trying to get that stove out of there. And well, I did, because I needed to keep Colleen happy. Now, those of you that have done this, well, sorry, the job snowballed, because if I was going to replace the floor, well, I might as well go ahead and replace those lower cabinets. If I'm going to replace the lower cabinets, well, that meant the upper cabinets too. These were the original cabinets, and of course that meant the countertop and the sink and the faucet and everything else. The job just snowballed. Now, if you've done this kind of work, you know that inside every small project, is a large project that's screaming to get out like a toddler with daddy issues. And so, now I hadn't planned any of this. I said earlier that I'm an engineer. I'm actually an engineering manager, and basically, you know, we try to balance cost, technical, and schedule. And well, if I had planned this out, because I didn't really have the cost, I probably would have scheduled it for like 2014. But I had already started peeling away the layers of the floor, and so I needed to keep going. Now, I will say that the project took 3+ years because of the money issue. We just had to do a little bit at a time. But quite frankly, the kitchen looked like crap. I mean, it really did. But it was functional the entire 3+ years. The only time that it wasn't functional was when we took the old countertop out to put the new countertop in, and I had to take the kitchen sink and the faucet, et cetera, out all at the same time. And within 24 hours, I had all the new stuff in, and that was the only time in the 3+ years. Thank you. Thank you. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I lost it. The kitchen looks great now, but I will say that it's been 16 years since I finished that kitchen project, and so we kind of need a new stove, kind of need a new refrigerator. The flooring kind of looks a little worn. Uh-oh, is it happening again? Thank you.